All right. Well, hey, Sterlin. Good
Hi.
seeing you. This is Living Indigenous Media,
Cool.
little podcast we're doing, kind of highlighting Native artists all over the world if we can.
Awesome.
And it's really great to have you on, man.
Good to be here.
So you're here kind of today as our as part of the Indigenous Arts Initiative here at KU. How's that going for you, man?
It's good. It's the first year, so you work out bugs.
Right.
Any inaugural year, but it's been good. It's been there's been some cool panels and getting to do panels with Stephen Grounds and Sydney, who I just met.
Right.
Some talented artists, and then working with Sydney has like 5 names, so I can't. It's going to take me a while to remember all those, but we working also with Robert Hicks, who's a Haskell student.
Right.
They paired me up with him to sort of mentor him on a short film that he's making, and it's been cool. It's been I spoke at Haskell for a class, and I've done panels over here at KU. It's been a good time.
Pretty busy.
Yeah.
Right on. How do you like seeing that Haskell KU dynamic? What do you think of that?
I mean, it's strange.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand it. Like I said, my grandma, she went to Haskell, I guess when it was a boarding school.
Right.
A lot of my family did. And I have this picture where she was named Haskell Princess. And I forget what year that was. But yeah, it's, hopefully there's a lot of reaching out and back and forth,
Right.
It seems like there should be. It seems like it would be a good sort of, what do they call those?
Good collaboration.
Funnel, tunnel.
Oh yeah,
something
totally.
Like
a pipeline or something.
pipeline.
Kind of hate to use that word, but
Yeah. The Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah,
Haskell
right.
to-
so one of the big things we highlight here is kind of how people situate themselves with their work and what they're doing, and that seems to be very much something you do all the time, kind of just naturally. So I had a couple questions kind of centered around that, if that's all right with you. Let's kind of start out with this one. So as a filmmaker, you probably have some ideas that aren't always like, the greatest hits, or they don't quite shape out the way you want them to be. What's been a project that's changed the most from like inception to end product or execution?
Probably the documentary. This may be the last time.
Uh-huh.
Because I started out just going to make a documentary about these songs.
Right.
And I was going to open the film with a story about my grandpa, but that was it. But the more and more people that I interviewed about these songs,
Right.
the more it turned out these people were actually there when they were searching for my grandfather who wrecked in 1962, and
Right.
they couldn't find his body. So they all happened to be there, and so I just had to like keep pulling my equipment back out and interviewing them about my grandpa, and it just sort of organically grew into a big part of the story.
Right.
And now I can't imagine that film without that part of the story. It became like a really big part of it.
That's always kind of the coolest thing whenever you have those, I don't want to say happy accidents from a native perspective, but maybe you were in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, I think you create that stuff. It's like you have to be open to it, but you also have to sort of be willing to throw things out into the universe and see what happens, and allow the space for accidents and things that you didn't expect to unfold and happen.
Right. Not really being the hard line of your life yourself,
Yeah.
staying out of your own way kind of thing.
Not being the white man accountant.
Can't colonize yourself.
With your work. Yeah, you have to be open. Yeah.
Man, I saw an interview with you up in Canada, and they called him Sturgeon.
Oh yeah, Sturgeon Harlow or something.
And I'm like, man, over this few weeks, like,
yeah.
I've just seen your name get butchered. I'm like, man, I'm
I
sorry,
know.
dude.
Like, Sterling. A lot of people call me that. But I grew up with people calling me Sterling, so I don't even hear it anymore. When I was young, I used to get upset. But actually, more than me is like people get mad at, like my friends get mad at people for mispronouncing my name.
Right. Kind of going with that then. So you go to this you have this Inception documentary in your mind, and it turns into something else completely. I don't know that when outside Native audiences kind of look at the stuff Natives produce, they don't realize that there's no Native Hollywood, there's no Native Nashville, there's none of these like big hubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think something like that'll be in Native America's future, or do you think that's going to be something beneficial for us?
I don't know. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Santa Fe in New Mexico.
Right.
I've always had this dream that Tulsa, Oklahoma could be the contemporary art answer to Santa Fe.
Right.
Sort of not the sort of art world dependent on white people coming to buy their work, but just a place where contemporary artists can be supported and thrive.
Right.
And it's actually happening a little bit. Like there's a lot of artists popping up and moving to Tulsa because of the Tulsa Artists Fellowship and other things.
Right.
So that's really cool and that's interesting. And, you know, Los Angeles is always calling me because I got to go out there for work.
Right.
So, you know, hopefully I can help start a little community there when I'm there. And, yeah, like, you know, but there's all these pockets. There's like Chicago, there's Oakland, there's LA, there's Minneapolis, there's Oklahoma, there's even New York has a community. So, you know, we sort of find each other everywhere we go.
You know, speaking with that, it's great to have those physical spaces too, but I mean, you know, your own work centers a lot on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. So how much of a tool do you think that is for Native creators these days? Like
it's our biggest tool, I think, you know, like you see something like Standing Rock and no media outlets were covering that.
Especially early days.
Yeah. And then, but it was just being streamed on Facebook. I mean, that's where we got our information. And we sort of cut the middleman out. We didn't need the news outlets. We had Facebook.
Right.
And that's the same thing with YouTube and like with the work that I do with 1491s. You know, we just cut out the distributors and the people that pay for it, and we just started doing it for on our own dime and putting it out for free.
Right.
There's some power in that, you know. And I think a lot of natives, young natives, are starting to sort of take advantage of a lot of that stuff.
For sure. You know, it's you start to see all the stuff that comes with those big networks and the middlemen, and you just kind of don't want to be involved with it, you know?
I know. It's like I'm in this position where I'm sort of working in that world a little bit, and it's a little bit different because like right now everyone's really open to diversity and diverse programming and stuff, but it's unbelievable to me. I just laugh a lot because people are out there like you're telling them this stuff and it's like they are discovering you.
Right.
Like they've never heard anything like it. But to us it's so normal, like the stories that we're talking about, you know, and like to them it's just like, oh my God. Like I just want to be like, there's like 50 other people just like me that could write you 10 other different stories that are just as good, you know, like just because you found out about it right now doesn't mean it hasn't been happening. And people, you know, like when I tell people about the 1491s, they're just blown away. Like, wow, like you have this like comedy group. Like, how did I not know about you? It's like, well, because you're only looking at a certain amount of content, you know. So,
like that can only exist, you know, in imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Doesn't it kind of speak to like how much we're still romanticized? Like we still have that going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got the short end of the stick as far as media and portrayals of us, you know, like part of that was because they didn't understand us, you know. I think that when they came over, we were so different, and also they needed to dehumanize us. So there's a lot of reasons why I think the representation of us has been bad. You know, I think that's changing. I love seeing like Fargo season 2 with Zahn being a bad guy. Like I want we should be bad guys and good guys and whatever, you know, in between, you know, like I love that.
Do you think there's like a big nuance problem in America right now with like kind of, you know, especially with Native issues like Standing Rock, people immediately got into sides, it seems like, you know? Do you think that's happening, and do you think we can deal with that as natives? Or
I'm not sure what you mean.
We go into these big polar sides real quick. Oh, it's like you're on this side and you're on this side. Do we miss that nuance? Because I feel like a lot of your work kind of deals with the nuance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm nervous to see what happens with our own people pushing forward with media and things, you know, because it's like I think in our communities, like a lot of times the people that hold knowledge are very humble and quiet. And the internet is not made for people that are humble and quiet.
Right.
It's made for the loudest people. And a lot of times the loudest people have very polar, opposite, extreme views, and it becomes a shouting match. So I hope that things like podcasts, there's new podcasts coming out. All My Relations podcast is a new one coming out. You know, it's like, I feel like having these longer conversations is really good, and provides the nuance and context to things, to arguments, and to issues that we can all discuss, you know, and have a more thought out opinion on things.
Right. I'm really thinking about the film you showed the other night, Miko. You know, you're kind of dealing with these narratives that aren't necessarily couched here in tradition, whatever that is, or mainstream narratives, but it's kind of in the middle. What kind of drives you to kind of mix those two, or to have that complete kind of perspective?
I don't know, like that story's such a normal story to me. Like, there's so many pieces of that story that I based off people that I know, family members. My uncle was actually beaten up by his cousin and almost killed, stabbed in the neck, and his cousin was drunk and went after him with a knife whenever he was trying to get him to leave the bar, you know? So in my film, the cousin dies, and the guy goes to jail. So all of that is just like normal stories that I feel like for some reason I was interested in that. I was interested in like very, like, you know, Jim Jarmusch, I feel like is a great filmmaker. I feel like he said something one time that was like, most films will show you buying a bus ticket and then getting off the bus at the location. I'm more interested in what happens at the bus stop.
Right.
You know, and like, I feel that a lot of our native stories are about that. I feel like traditionally, and the way my family at least told stories was, they would tell stories that were about the most mundane things, like going down to the store. Yeah. But they would tell them in a way that were so big and like amazing and funny, and I just want to try to capture that with the films that I make.
Right. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, the way I've been kind of viewing it is that native filmmakers are really, maybe subconsciously in some way, and not to be romantic or anything, but those storytelling narratives come out in whatever we're doing now, I think. You know?
I think so. Like, I think that, you know, the way we learn is different. The way we were taught is different. The way that we tell stories is different. And I think that, you know, if you're interested in that stuff, you get that from your community and people, your family.
Right.
But you also get the trauma and the darkness too, you know, like, so you have to, it's a balance.
Yeah, and I like that. You know, I over the course of these few days, you know, you've been very much showing the complete picture. And I think what you said the other night was really important. You know, people think natives are just this singular dimension. They're still the Edward Curtis photo. So those narratives, there's a lot of pieces missing. Yeah. You know?
I mean, I just think it's important to tell you know, if you really want people to see us as human, we have to show all sides of us being human. We have to show the dark side. We have to show the light side. We have to show everything. Right. I think scars and blemishes and beauty and all, you know, like, we have to tell stories about all that. Right. That's how our origin stories are. That's how our old stories are, and trickster stories, you know, like, we deal with the darkness. So I feel like we have to do all that to move forward. For sure. We're still dealing with these metrics, and they're very real. How our native communities are coming together. Who's on your radar? Do you have anyone you'd like to highlight or talk about? Anyone who's on your radar that you're like, man, this person's doing really cool stuff? Like, man, there's so many. I mean, like, I'm making a documentary about a lot of them right now, you know, like, man, you know, like, there's this musician named Micah P. Henson that is Chickasaw, who's amazing. Chinoopa Hanskaluger is an artist who's blowing up right now. Nick Galanin. I mean, you know, Emily Johnson is a performance artist that is amazing, and Haley Greenfeather is amazing. She's out of New Mexico, and she's a painter. and Demian Yazzie, poet, Tommy Pico, poet. Like, there's some and Tommy Orange. I mean, like,
Right.
there's so many people like really doing stuff. Black Belt Eagle Scout, that band, and then like Weed Rat.
Right,
Like I
Weed
just
Rat
filmed with
rocks.
them. They're amazing. Like Akumatu, the
Right.
rapper. Like there's so many like amazing people. And like the All My Relations podcast.
Right.
Matika and Adrian. Like they, it's been blowing up. So it's an exciting time. I mean, I hope that people keep making stuff.
Right.
We need everyone kind of grinding right now because I feel like we have this window.
Right.
We have this window of opportunity, and we can kick the doors in. We need everyone on their A game and like pushing forward.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point to end it, Sterlin. Man, thanks a ton for being on.
Yeah, man.
Want you to have a good rest of the day while you're here and doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a ton, dude.
All right.